Hi everyone, my name is Celine, and so today I'm going to be talking about...
She walked onto the stage with a smile so pure, a voice so heavenly, that even the toughest critics couldn't hold back tears. Celine Tam wasn't just another child singer, she was a phenomenon. At just 9 years old, she stunned millions on America's Got Talent, capturing hearts with the kind of emotional power most adults never master. But what the world didn't see was the complex story unfolding behind the curtain. Because behind that perfect pitch and picture-perfect image was a life touched by controversy, family drama, and relentless pressure. While the headlines praised her golden buzzer moment, whispers began to circulate about her father, about control, about whether this rising star was being guided or used. As her fame soared, so did the questions. Was Celine's journey a fairy tale built on talent and love, or was it the start of something far more complicated? Today, we pull back the curtain on the girl with the golden voice to uncover the hidden story that nearly silenced her shine. Long before she graced the global stage, Celine Tam was just a little girl with a big dream, growing up in the heart of Hong Kong. Born on November 22, 2007, in a city where skyscrapers kiss the clouds and East meets West in every alleyway, Celine's life began surrounded by culture, ambition, and music. Her father, Dr. Steve Tam, a respected music educator and founder of the Sing and You Music Center, believed from the very beginning that his daughter was born with something special. Unlike most children her age, Celine wasn't drawn to cartoons or playground games. She gravitated toward melodies, echoing songs with startling accuracy even before she could properly read. Her father noticed. By the time she was 5, the structured training had begun. Every day after school, while other kids played, Celine was fine-tuning her voice, mastering scales, and learning the intricate emotional nuances of ballads most adults struggle to deliver. Her home wasn't just a place to live, it was a miniature conservatory. Surrounded by her father's students and a constant hum of rehearsals, Celine was raised in a world where singing wasn't a hobby, it was a way of life. Her confidence blossomed as she sang alongside other young talents, gaining not just vocal strength, but the courage to perform. And it wasn't long before her parents made a pivotal decision. At just 5 years old, Celine entered her first major competition, Let's Sing Kids. The audience was stunned. Judges said speechless. In that moment, Hong Kong realized it wasn't witnessing just another prodigy. It was witnessing the emergence of something truly rare. But as her voice grew louder on stage, so did the world's interest. And with that came a pressure no child should ever have to shoulder.
After her stunning debut on Let's Sing Kids, Celine Tam's ascent was swift and undeniable. In a world driven by viral sensations and online fame, it wasn't long before the young girl from Hong Kong became an international talking point. In 2014, at just 7 years old, she stepped into the spotlight once again, this time on Little Big Shots, a platform that showcased child prodigies from around the world. There, she performed a breathtaking duet of You Raise Me Up with fellow young singer Jeffrey Leake. The chemistry between the two, their pitch-perfect harmonies, and Celine's astonishing stage poise captivated not only the studio audience, but viewers across continents. The performance exploded online, amassing millions of views and catapulting her into the global consciousness. What was striking wasn't just her voice, it was the emotion behind it. Celine wasn't merely mimicking great singers, she was channeling something deeper, something raw and authentic. Music insiders and fans alike began asking, how could someone so young sing with such depth? It became clear, this was no fleeting internet sensation, this was the real thing. In those formative years, she continued to perform at showcases, competitions, and media events, each appearance sharpening her skills and building a presence far beyond her age. Her family, especially her father, saw the potential and began looking toward even bigger platforms. Celine's YouTube channel began gaining traction, her covers going viral, her name now whispered among the next big things in music. But what looked like a fairy tale from the outside was slowly becoming a tightrope walk between youthful wonder and professional expectation. As more eyes turned to her, so did the weight of being exceptional. And just when it seemed like she had conquered the Asian spotlight, an even greater opportunity came knocking, one that would thrust her into the heart of American entertainment and forever change the trajectory of her life. The year was 2017, and the stage was set for one of the most unforgettable auditions in America's Got Talent history. Just 9 years old at the time, Celine Tam stepped onto that massive platform, confident, composed, and carrying the weight of expectations that few her age could ever understand. Her tiny frame stood beneath the blinding lights, facing a panel of judges known as much for their ruthlessness as their praise. And then, the first notes of My Heart Will Go On filled the room. From the moment she sang the opening line, there was a shift in the atmosphere. Audience members leaned in, judges exchanged glances. What emerged from that child's voice wasn't just a song, it was an experience. Celine's tone was pure, her pitch flawless, but more than anything, it was the raw emotion she poured into every note that silenced the crowd. By the time she hit the song's climactic high, the theater erupted into thunderous applause. Judge after judge rose to their feet. Heidi Klum and Mel B were visibly emotional, their eyes glistening with tears. Even the notoriously stoic Simon Cowell leaned forward, stunned by the maturity in her delivery. And then came the moment that would change everything. Guest judge Laverne Cox reached across the table and slammed the golden buzzer, sending Celine straight to the live shows. Golden confetti rained from the ceiling as she stood frozen, overcome by the moment. That audition video would soon rack up millions of views across platforms, earning her headlines worldwide in comparisons to vocal legends like Celine Dion and Whitney Houston. But behind that career-defining moment was a reality that few could see, a 9-year-old girl being catapulted into a pressure cooker of global fame. Because while the spotlight glowed warmly on stage, behind it, murmurs were beginning to grow. Whispers about control, about influence, about whether Celine was truly living her dream or someone else's.
While Celine Tam's golden buzzer moment painted a picture of pure triumph, what followed behind the scenes was far less harmonious. As her voice echoed across continents and her face appeared in headlines and viral thumbnails, a growing wave of scrutiny began to target not the young singer, but the man standing right behind her, her father, Steve Tam. Initially seen as a dedicated mentor and doting parent, Steve's prominent role in managing every aspect of Celine's career soon raised eyebrows. Online forums, fan pages, and entertainment blogs started buzzing with a single uncomfortable question: was Celine being supported or controlled? Critics pointed to Steve Tam's deep involvement in his daughter's schedule, performances, and media appearances, suggesting that his influence may have extended far beyond guidance. As more people dug into the family dynamic, allegations emerged claiming that Steve was using his daughter's fame as a platform to advance his own ambitions. The timing seemed suspicious to some. Soon after Celine's AGT stardom, Steve began marketing himself more publicly, even promoting his own music projects and teaching methods. Whispers of opportunism grew louder. Some fans expressed concern that Celine, still a child, was being subjected to relentless pressure and branding that was far too strategic for her age. The speculation ignited a larger debate about child performers in the entertainment industry and the parental roles that can either nurture or exploit their potential. With Celine becoming a household name, the public lens on Steve grew increasingly sharp, and what started as innocent curiosity quickly transformed into full-blown suspicion. And as more layers were peeled back, accusations would soon surface that went beyond mere speculation, casting an even darker shadow over the man managing Hong Kong's young vocal prodigy. As Celine Tam's fame soared, her father's public image began to spiral into turbulence. The growing chatter surrounding Steve Tam's intentions hit a boiling point when one of Hong Kong's most beloved entertainment icons, Nancy Sid, stepped forward with a serious accusation. She alleged that Steve had poached students from her art center, an explosive claim that not only sparked professional outrage, but also struck at the heart of Steve's reputation as a music educator. Suddenly, the man once seen as the architect of his daughter's success was being recast as a competitor who would do anything to climb higher, even at the cost of others. The backlash was swift. In the tight-knit world of music instruction and local celebrity, Steve Tam found himself isolated, his integrity under fire. But that wasn't the only controversy clouding his credibility. Another firestorm erupted around his academic title. Steve had long introduced himself as Dr. Steve Tam, claiming to hold a doctorate in business administration. But when critics began digging into his qualifications, doubts surfaced. Was the title earned from a recognized institution? Did it relate in any way to music education? Many argued that presenting himself as doctor created a misleading image of authority in a field where formal music training is taken seriously. Parents, educators, and fans began to question whether Steve's credentials were as polished as his public persona. In response to the mounting criticism, Steve issued a public apology, an attempt to quell the controversy and reset the narrative. He expressed regret for any harm caused and denied any intent to deceive or hurt fellow professionals, but by then the damage had already seeped deep into the foundation of his credibility. For some, the apology came across as too little, too late. And for Celine, the fallout cast a long and uncomfortable shadow over her rising star. No longer was she just the golden-voiced child prodigy, now her name was tethered to a growing list of scandals involving her closest advisor. As Steve's public image cracked, questions about how his actions might be affecting his daughter's well-being became impossible to ignore.
Behind the standing ovations and glittering stages, a much quieter, more sobering reality was taking shape. Celine Tam, still in the throes of childhood, was living a life that most adults would struggle to balance. While her performances dazzled millions, observers began to notice the signs of strain. Social media lit up with concerns about whether this young star was being allowed to simply be a child. As her schedule filled with rehearsals, appearances, and international travel, many began to ask, where was the space for school, for play, for rest? The spotlight that once felt like a blessing now loomed as a burden. Fans speculated about exhaustion, critics whispered about burnout, and mental health professionals raised red flags about the risks of early fame without safeguards. More troubling were the increasing online discussions suggesting that Celine's career might be robbing her of a normal upbringing. Reports emerged alleging that her days were tightly scheduled, leaving little time for the kinds of activities most children take for granted: birthday parties, unstructured play, even simple family time. In interviews, Steve Tam insisted that education remained a top priority and that Celine's life was balanced, but public confidence had been shaken, and the controversies already surrounding him made it harder for many to take those words at face value. The industry's long troubling history with child stars rising quickly and crashing just as fast only deepened the anxiety around her trajectory. Whispers soon turned into waves. Was Celine performing because she loved it or because she had to? And if she was under pressure, did she even have the option to step away? The reality is that the world rarely pauses to consider the emotional cost of viral success, especially when the subject is a smiling child with a microphone. For Celine, the applause may have been deafening, but the silence in those offstage moments likely told a different story. A story of resilience, yes, but perhaps also of loneliness, uncertainty, and the crushing weight of expectation. And yet through it all, her performances never faltered. Her voice remained steady, her eyes still sparkled on stage, which left everyone wondering, was she thriving or simply surviving? Just when it seemed the shadows might swallow her shine, Celine Tam reminded the world exactly why she had earned that global spotlight in the first place. In 2019, 2 years after her dramatic rise and the maelstrom of controversy that followed, Celine stepped back into the international arena, this time on World's Got Talent held in China. The stakes were higher, the competition fiercer, and the cameras sharper. But when she took the stage, all doubts fell away. Celine didn't just sing, she soared. Her performance earned her the coveted golden buzzer once again, sending her straight into the top 8. In that moment, it was no longer about her father's credentials, the critics, or the weight of her past. It was about talent, undeniable, unshakable, and entirely hers. Her return to the spotlight didn't go unnoticed. Industry insiders praised her vocal maturity and stage presence, noting how much she had grown both technically and emotionally since her AGT debut. No longer the wide-eyed girl with a dream, Celine was now a poised young artist in control of her craft. And this time, she wasn't just performing to win hearts, she was reclaiming her voice. That same year, she made headlines once more, not for a vile performance, but for something far more meaningful. Celine was named an ambassador for Room to Read, a global nonprofit focused on literacy and girls' education. It was a powerful pivot, using her platform not just for applause, but for advocacy. The girl who once sang about heartache and hope was now helping others find their own voice through books, education, and empowerment. Celine's public image began to shift. Fans who had once worried about her well-being saw a young woman rising above the noise, choosing not to be defined by scandal but by purpose. She was no longer just a symbol of viral success, she was a story of resilience, using her platform to amplify more than music. And while the controversies had not vanished, they no longer defined her. Because with each note, each appearance, and each philanthropic gesture, Celine was crafting a narrative all her own. A redemption arc not driven by spectacle but by substance.
Away from the glitter of TV competitions and the flashing cameras, Celine Tam quietly continued to evolve, not just as an artist, but as a young woman finding her voice on her own terms. In the years following her televised triumphs, she shifted her focus toward live performances at private and corporate events, becoming a regular feature at upscale galas, charity fundraisers, and elite functions across Asia. These weren't the viral moments that made headlines, but they spoke volumes about her growing professionalism and versatility. Her ability to move effortlessly between powerful ballads and intimate acoustic sets proved that Celine wasn't simply a child star clinging to past fame. She was becoming a seasoned performer, respected in circles beyond social media trends. At the same time, she began devoting more energy to her academics, a move that surprised some and impressed many. In interviews and social posts, Celine emphasized the importance of education, often crediting her parents, despite the controversies, for ensuring she stayed grounded. It became clear that behind the schedule of rehearsals and performances, there was also homework, exams, and quiet moments of reflection. Unlike many young celebrities who burn out under pressure, Celine seemed determined to create balance in her life. She wasn't chasing fame, she was building a future. But what stood out most during this period was her growing interest in creative independence. Celine began expressing a desire to write and produce her own music, exploring genres beyond the soaring ballads that had defined her earlier work. Her social media updates hinted at studio sessions, songwriting notebooks, and experiments with new sounds. No longer just interpreting the emotions of others through covers, she wanted to tell her own story. And with each step away from the rigid confines of talent shows, Celine edged closer to artistic freedom, discovering who she was outside the scripts, judges, and expectations. In the quiet spaces between the spotlight, Celine Tam was proving that longevity in entertainment doesn't come from virality. It comes from reinvention, resilience, and the courage to grow even when no one is watching. As the years unfolded and the dust of early fame began to settle, Celine Tam emerged not as a faded child star, but as a determined young artist ready to chart her own course. With the glow of the golden buzzer now a memory and the controversies that once engulfed her family slowly fading from public discourse, Celine found herself at a crucial turning point. Rather than retreat from the spotlight, she chose to reshape it. No longer defined solely by televised moments or viral duets, she began crafting a new image, one built on artistic maturity, creative control, and quiet resilience. Her desire to write original songs signaled more than a creative shift, it marked the start of her journey toward autonomy. In candid interviews and subtle social posts, Celine shared glimpses of this evolution, studio clips, handwritten lyrics, and aspirations that stretched beyond singing. She has voiced interest in learning production, composing her own music, and even collaborating with other young talents across genres. The uncoached prodigy is now becoming the architect of her own musical identity. And that growth has been accompanied by a renewed sense of purpose. Whether it's her continued work with Room to Read or her vocal advocacy for education and youth empowerment, Celine is consciously expanding her platform beyond performance. She's proving that a voice like hers can do more than entertain. It can inspire, uplift, and lead. Meanwhile, her relationship with fans has deepened. No longer just applauding her high notes, they've begun following her journey for who she is becoming, a thoughtful, driven, multidimensional artist with dreams far beyond the stage. And while her past may forever be a part of her narrative, Celine has made it clear, it will not define her. The shadows that once loomed over her father's role have not disappeared, but they no longer control the spotlight. Slowly and steadily, Celine Tam is stepping out from beneath them, not with defiance, but with quiet grace and undeniable talent. She's not just rebuilding her image,
She's rewriting her future. Celine Tam's story is more than just a tale of early fame. It's a reflection of everything beautiful and brutal about growing up under a spotlight. She came into our lives with a voice that felt otherworldly, capturing hearts across continents before she even entered double digits. But behind the applause and accolades was a complicated truth, one layered with controversy, speculation, and a father's ambitions that, fair or not, became inseparable from her journey. Through it all, Celine never stopped singing. She never disappeared, she never lashed out. Instead, she transformed. From prodigy to performer, from symbol to storyteller, Celine is now reclaiming what it means to own your talent and your truth. Her journey leaves us with a difficult but necessary question. Can a child truly navigate fame without losing a part of themselves? And when the applause fades and the lights dim, what remains? In Celine's case, what remains is hope. A voice that still soars, a heart that still believes in the future she's determined to shape on her own terms. Whether history remembers her as the little girl who stunned Simon Cowell or the artist who rose from behind the curtain of controversy, one thing is clear. Celine Tam is not done, not by a long shot. So we ask you, the viewer, was her journey a victory or a warning? Is she the hero of her own story or the phase of an industry that asked too much too soon? Whatever your answer, one thing is certain. Her voice has already left a mark, and chances are it's one you'll never forget.